What's up, superhumans? BT here. I'm pumped to share with you the Eclipse Yourself app. This is an app I've been talking about for a while. I've had it for a couple of months. I've been using it. It's pretty big. It's got a learning curve, but I have really enjoyed it. It is one of the most robust health and fitness tracking apps that you can get for the Apple Watch and your iPhone. It is also an app I'm getting a lot of questions on recently, so I thought it was the perfect time to make a video on it. However, the guys that make this app, this is not their first app. They actually made Auto Sleep and Heart Watch, two very highly acclaimed apps, reached out and wanted to get involved. However, I don't do sponsored reviews, so I asked them, hey, would you guys mind partnering up for a complete walkthrough? You have a really big app. It's got a substantial learning curve. Would you mind if I did a video and just walked everybody through A to Z on how to use the app? And they jumped on board. Super pumped about it. So we're going to dive into that today. And you can see it right here. Let's go ahead and download that. Boom, open. All right, here we go. Now it's going to start you off with a 7-day free trial, yearly $167 a month, save 44%. I can tell you right now that Todd actually has a special price just available for the people that watch this video, my community, and it's going to be available for 30 days. All right, so essentially 1 month, and you can get everything for much, much cheaper. He's got a promo code. Just look down in the description below to get it. All right. One of the things that I really like about the Eclipse Yourself app is their approach to health and fitness and optimal. So many times with other apps that do this, you're essentially just trying to push yourself as hard as possible to raise your fitness, and that's the end all be all. And for them, it's not about that. It's about balance. And you're going to understand why the app is called Eclipse, is because when all of these sectors are in balance, it forms an eclipse. So it asks you to tap the center, and now it's just going to give us a brief explanation on what the app is and what it prioritizes. What name would you like to go by? Well, I'll go by my name, Brandon. All right, let's set up our Eclipse. Privacy is important. Set up access. So we want to turn on all of these permissions. So we're going to allow. Okay. We're going to allow. The first thing is important sleep settings. It's asking you what are the number of hours that you need to feel refreshed and ready to go. And for me, it's certainly not 8. I don't know if I've ever gotten 8. So for me, it's actually closer to like 6.5 hours. That's what I need to feel like I'm ready to go. So I can either use the Auto Sleep app or I can use the Apple Sleep app. Make sure you have the Apple Sleep app. So one of the things that tripped me up so hard is, I don't know how this happened, but I accidentally deleted Apple Sleep off of my watch and my phone. And I could not get this to work. And it wasn't until I figured out, oh my gosh, like I don't have it. I had to re-download it and then everything worked. So make sure you haven't deleted Apple Sleep off of your watch or your phone. Get ready to eclipse yourself. Let's go. My wife is she also works from home, like 8 feet from my office. I'm sure she's like, what the hell is happening in there? Now tap the center of the eclipse to determine your status. Now here's the deal. I didn't have this on. I was letting it charge all morning and just kind of spaced it. Went for a hike. We'll see if it pulls the data. If not, one of the coolest things about this is it will pull from my Whoop. So I'm never really out if I don't wear this, just FYI. But I like to have it on there. So we tap the center of the eclipse, and this just does a quick calibration. It says balanced. Everything is in balance. And I know I have data because under activity, recovery, and readiness, I have metrics. And I know I have metrics because if I scroll down to my recovery, there are markers there. They're very slim, but I do have markers there. So let's kind of go through the homepage real quick, and then we'll start getting more and more granular. All right, so the very first screen is balanced. Your Eclipse screen, your balance screen. And what I like about this, rather than having multiple scores to look at, it's just one. It's one thing. Am I in balance or not? And if I'm not, I have a divergence. Let's say my recovery isn't in balance. You'll see recovery get pushed out of that Eclipse. So that is what this signifies. Because I'm in balance, I've got that perfect Eclipse. Today's activity. So it shows me my goals. I can set a goal if I want, which is great. I want something right around 1,000 calories. Choose this day for your goal. So I chose that day, and now you can see today's goal, workout calories, 1,448. So it's just an easy way to like, this is what I want to do today. This is the goal that I want to hit. Just makes it simple so I don't have to go in and actually log it manually. Today's recovery. The lower we are, the less recovered we are. We want to push this little yellow dot, the sun, as high up as we can possibly get it. There's kind of like a sun theme throughout. There's a couple of themes, and it can be kind of confusing. That's why I'm here. It says my overall recovery is okay. And then finally, we have our readiness. And this is, again, a sun. If you look at this section as like your horizon, the higher that sun goes, the more ready we are, which is great. So I can see my HRV, my temperature. It says your readiness is great. Here's your daily eclipse history. This is our orbit. So this is a 28-day look at, or a 28-day trend of all of our performance and markers. You can see readiness, recovery, and activity all right there. You're not going to be able to make much sense of it from here, but once we start looking at the road, that'll make more sense. So you can see we've got a little minor divergence, 7-day trends, etc. Down at the bottom, we have options, help, and shared. Shared is probably the least thing we're going to get into today, just because that's really more for coaches and trainers that need to keep an eye on their clients. We're just going to look at this from like a personal perspective, one person using the app, not sharing it with a bunch of people. All right. But down at the bottom, we can click options. We can set up our profile, configure the Eclipse, share my Eclipse, invite to Eclipse. So the share and invite are, again, for the coaches and trainers, or if I need to share it with a doctor or something like that. But let's set up my profile. So I can add a photo if I would like. There's my full name, nickname, share activity, share recovery, share age, blah, blah, blah. Going back to the options, configure my Eclipse, show workout form, hide workout forms. So you're just subtracting or adding to this. So right now, enabled, I can receive a daily notification about my success. I'm actually going to turn that off because I don't need all the notifications. I will say on this app, they can be a little overwhelming sometimes. I'm very OCD, and if I see that I have 16 unread messages, that's going to freak me out. So in the inbox, it's really easy to pile up notifications. So I'm just going to turn it off. It says your maximum heart rate is calculated by using your age. So it's 220 minus your age is like your max heart rate. It's already got that calculated in there. Recovery, again, that's what I need, where we're pulling from what makes up the readiness. It's your sleeping HRV, and Whoop, Apple Watch, and a couple other apps. They all track HRV differently. Like the Oura Ring takes a bunch of measurements throughout the night and then like averages them out, if I'm remembering correctly. Whoop takes a reading at a certain time during a certain stage of sleep, and Eclipse Yourself is doing it a little bit differently. That's all. But as long as you do it long enough and keep it as a standard, they're all pretty accurate. Show wellness survey, and then receive a morning notification about your daily Eclipse. Again, I'm going to turn that off because I'm going to look at the phone, I don't want to be prompted to look at the phone. And then I just hit done. So again, if you ever want to like start an eclipse, if you want to see where you are at that moment, you can always tap the center. It'll go through and then it'll give you a reading. Here we are with the notifications. I turn these off. You can see it says welcome to Eclipse. I'm going to hit done. The thing is with these entries when it says other or hiking, like this morning I hiked. It didn't have my Apple Watch. It had my Whoop, which is cool. But here I can come in and specify several things. So training category, endurance. So we click on that, primary load type, aerobic, RPE, that's the rate of perceived exertion. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard was it? I would say it was actually probably not very hard. I would say harder because I was at altitude. I had a lot of weight on me and I was moving at a fast pace. It wasn't a steep incline to make it hard. Lots of altitude, lots of speed, lots of weight on my back. Injury, no. Notes, I could fill something in there if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. Done. And then here's the survey. So every morning you're going to have a survey, injury, no, illness, no, tags, blah, blah, blah. I could fill this in if I wanted to. And if you don't have something like Whoop and you've got an extensive journal, I would highly recommend filling this out because that's what you're going to use to track behaviors that actually affect your health. So make sure you fill that out. All right, now that we've kind of gone over the home page and just kind of the overview of what you're going to see from the front page, we're going to try to get a little more granular with our workouts. And to do that, we're going to click on the activity gauge. Here is another page, and it's going to go a couple more pages deep depending on how deep we want to get it. But at the top, this is our road. This kind of confused me because to me, it doesn't really look like a road when you first look at it. It looks like a weird hilly thing. But just know that each of these red dots that you see are activities. All right, that's your energy expenditure for the day. Between each of these blocks, gray, black, gray, black, gray, black, those are 7 days. This whole thing is about a month. So you can see not only a 7-day trend of energy expenditure, you can also see your entire month. You're going to see up here underneath the date, easing up, maintaining, fast lane, maintaining, fast lane. This is why they refer to it as the road. Instead of thinking about this plot that you see here, think about it from a top-down view. Everything above that white line that runs through the middle, that's your fast lane, right? The passing lane. Everything below it is the slow lane. So every time it says fast lane, like here, Monday, October 23, my energy expenditure meant I was starting to get into the fast lane. I was recovering. I was ready. I'm getting fitter. The more you do, the more energy expenditure you have. Not only do you go into the fast lane, but the actual road, the width of the road gets bigger. All right, so it's easier to get fitter, like stay fit, to maintain. But the less you do, the smaller the road gets, all right? That was kind of confusing for me at first. Hopefully that made sense to you. Below that, we're going to get 7 days and 28 days, just an overview of the types of activities we did. You can see on the 7 days, I've mostly stuck with general. But when you go to 28 days, you're going to see general, hiking, running, other, weights, cycling, okay? Now below that, you're going to get, again, a 7-day and a 28 breakdown of your category, load type, and surface. And we've talked about category and load type. Category was like endurance, load type was aerobic. And you can kind of see that here. Same with endurance and breakdown. Now, this would be a lot different if I was way better about going in and selecting the category and the load type. That's just something I haven't been on top of. But if you really want to take advantage of this app, I highly suggest that you do. All right, now let's dive into each workout individually. Now I want to look at the last 7 days. I want to look at workouts from the last 7 days. So again, as I move the road, you can see each of those workouts. You can see where my expenditure was. But if I click on the pie chart, now I can see those workouts plotted on a graph. For me, again, didn't really make much sense, but then I thought of it as like an NBA shooting chart, right? Where guys take the most shots from. I was like, oh, that makes sense. So each type of workout has their own like markers. For other, it's just calories per hour, RPE, and average BPM. But if I go into, let's say, running, I'm going to have calories per hour, but now I have pace, RPE, average BPM. Walking is kind of like that. Weightlifting is a little different. We'll show you that here in a second. But here are the activities that I can look at. But if I want to get more granular, tap on that workout, and now I can see it as a whole. And it just gives me a breakdown of everything, and it compares it to the last 6 months of where that workout was. Pretty self-explanatory, but let's go back in here. I'll show you the 28 days, because in this one I had other types of workouts. Like, where's my walking? Here's a walking one. There I get calories per hour, RPE, average BPM. And if you look under average BPM, I can see the zone that I was in, my heart rate zone. So if I want to click on that, now I can see that my heart rate was up 12 beats per minute. That's an 11% increase. The time I did it for was 49 minutes, 43 seconds. That's a 168% increase. I actually got an award for this one, my 6-month longest. But I can also see my calories per hour, my average BPM, and then if I wanted to, I could see every time it took a measurement via the Apple Watch or the Whoop, I can see it plotted here on my heart rate. So pretty simple to understand. If I wanted to edit any of this, I would just hit the edit, and then I could add those RPEs, I could add the load types, I could add the category, etc. Now we've got different gauges here. We can alter the road based on each of those gauge types. So right now, activity, I'm plotting activity, right? But if I wanted to plot distance and see how it affected my road, I could plot distance, load, time, running. Pretty black and white there. So, like I said, there's an intense amount of data here. You can geek out as much as you want. Like I've said several times, the more specific you are, the more data you feed it, the more data you'll get back, and the better your experience. All right? Let's now dive into recovery. Here's our recovery page. So I clicked on the recovery gauge. That's what brings up this recovery page. This first block, very similarly to activity, each of these gray, black, those are our 7-day trends. And we can go back way back. And as I scroll through, it will tell me how my recovery was. Okay, good, very good, good. Below that are the actual data points that it's looking at to make up your recovery. We have our sleep. We have our fatigue. And you can also see on this line whether that is above our average or below our average. So as I go over here, HRV was below, and then up here, boom, much higher at a 62. The next marker, SpO2, that is your blood oxygen concentration. And then finally, we have respiratory rate. So it looks at those 6 markers, and that is what is going to determine your recovery. As we come down, I can see my overall recovery. It's either getting better or it's getting worse. That one's really easy to look at. And then I could look at my 7-day trend if I wanted to. Now, if we wanted to look at just respiratory rate or any of those markers, we would simply click on it and then we could see what was happening. So my respiratory rate, The higher it goes, that's not good. I want my respiratory rate to be as low as possible. And you can see at 16.4, it was way up there. At 16.3, it's way up there. But at a 17, it's like far below average. Now, where this is nice is you can look at like, why was my HRV so high on these days? I can go back, I can look at the workouts I was doing, I can look at my journals and see what kind of activities I was performing and just kind of the behaviors I was, the decisions I was making that day, for that week, for that month. And it's going to be a lot easier for me to get back to this kind of place, if that makes sense. Finally, we're going to look at readiness. So let's click on the readiness gauge. Daily readiness rating, your sunrise chart. Is your readiness below par? So I told you that it's a horizon, and the higher that sun goes, the more ready we are. If it doesn't get very high, we're not very ready. Ready is simply like how well is our nervous system adjusted to perform activity both mentally and physically, okay? So for this, it's looking at BPMs, HRV, and temperature. Just like everything else, we've got our 7 days, or we can look at a much longer period of time, and we can see I'm either low or I'm excellent. And that has to do with my sun up here. You can see the horizon. Let's come over here. Here's the sun. I wish there was an easy way to look at this, but you can see that sun getting lower or much higher. Like, that's an excellent day for me. Great. Let's go to an actually excellent day. Excellent day. That's how high my sun got. So visually, much easier to figure out than the activity, but it is kind of confusing. So the eclipse, right? If we're in a perfect eclipse, we're in balance. That's a really good thing. The only kind of curveball is the road. I think everything else kind of falls in line with that sun type of thing. The road was the only thing that tripped me up for a while. But once you get that, it's pretty easy. That's pretty much it. If you have any questions at all troubleshooting, you can click the help folder down at the very bottom, and it's going to give you problem solving. You can submit a request, system settings, etc. Finally, there's shared. And like I said, I wasn't going to dive into shared so much because it is very much kind of like a coach, athlete, trainer, client type of protocol. If you're that person, hit me up and I can kind of like walk through this. But where you would set this up is if we go back to our options and we want to share my Eclipse. Sharing your Eclipse requires the Plus membership, but if I wanted to invite to Eclipse, if I want somebody to come check out this app and then eventually we like share our stuff together, you can send it in a text. But let's go back to shared. Basically, right here is where I would see the profile. Like if I had a picture, you would see my picture and you would see the picture of everybody else that you're sharing with. You can click on them and literally see all of the same data, which is so helpful that you would see on your own profile. All right. So you can, but like if you've got 10 people on here, you can also sort through that to make it easier, filter it, etc., etc. But I'm not sharing with anybody, just Todd. We did that to make sure like all the, bugs were out and I was doing it right. And it helped me out a ton. Well, there you have it. The Eclipse Yourself app. I keep calling it the Eclipse app. It's actually called Eclipse Yourself. And for those of you struggling to find it, maybe that's why, because that was my fault. Anyway, this app is awesome. And if you have an Apple Watch, for the money, I don't think you're going to find a better health and fitness data-driven app out there. So I highly recommend it. Use the link in the description so you can save yourself a ton of money. But the advice I would give you is be involved as much as you want to be involved. The more you're involved, the more data you're going to get back and the more nerdy you can get with it. Or you can turn off the notifications like I have and just kind of vaguely go throughout there. But if you do that, sometimes you're going to look at something and be like, that's not right. Right? It's not screwing anything up. It's because the data that I gave it just wasn't very accurate, whether that was category or load type or RPE, etc. If you've got any questions at all, I am more than happy to answer them. And Todd has been awesome. He's watched some of the other videos. I'm sure if you've got questions, I guarantee you he's going to be in the comments. He'll help you out as well. I've also got a one-pager that I'm going to share to make this as easy as possible. All right. Thanks again for watching. If you did like the video, please hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. It goes a really long way supporting the channel. I guess that's it. I'll catch you later. Peace.